So One Look, it's the only track with lyrics on it. I was wondering, did the lyrics come before the title or the title come before the lyrics?
That's a brilliant question, if I may say so. So, with one look, I can say that, those two words came before anything else. Um, I don't know why, but before the music and indeed anything else at all. Um, and then, as often happens, um, I will go to the piano with my memo, my voice recorder, and start recording fragments. It did not start off as a song. Most of my pieces, whether they have lyrics or not, start off with a title, and um, and many of them actually, I think to myself, gosh, that would make a lovely song, and generally don't do anything about it at all. But with this one, I wrote the piece of music as an instrumental piece of music, and it was called One Look. Um, and and it was essentially quite a simple piece harmonically in that these a very simple progression, but something quite pure. And I wanted to subtract what I could from that progression, play it very simply, and come out with something that was melodic, and that had a sense of movement and direction. So the piano melody that comes out. I'm going off at a tangent now, aren't I? Talking about music rather than the title. But I wanted to find a melody that was worthy of the title. And for me, that was it. So it was going to the piano, experimenting, noodling, and finding a kind of a really beautiful phrase, melody, harmonic progression that was worthy of the title. And I don't know why those two words meant so much to me at the time, and why they still do. Um, but yeah, that's how I came about it.
Excellent. And what led you to then write lyrics for it?
So there's a very long story to the lyrics. I mentioned to my wonderful label head, Sarah Thwaites, that I thought would make a really cool song, and also mentioned to my fantastic manager, Phil, as well. And I think between the three of us, actually, it was around that time I had a couple of Zooms with Leona Lewis, just working on a few things with her, and her name again popped into my head. I think she has the most extraordinary voice, and so I mentioned it to the label, and I think the message came back that she was, amenable to the idea of singing on this track. And we then sent it over to John Maguire, who is a fantastically successful songwriter and brilliant at what he does. Lovely chap as well. And I said, look, John, I've got this song. It's not a song in the sense that it hasn't got any lyrics, but it's a piano song. But I feel it will make an amazing pop song. I want it to be in this classical soul space. But I'd love you to reflect on it and to do what you do with this music. You can either use the melodies that are already inherent in the song, i.e. the stuff that the piano plays, or do with it what you will. And so I left that with him. And he came back quite quickly and said, well, look, Alexis, I've cut this, and I've cut this, and I've cut that section. I put that in, and I did that, and this is it. And I got someone to sing it. So basically, I got it back really quickly with the words there, One Look, and sung by one of his associates. And it was brilliant. It's it took out certain sections and it made it into a really cohesive pop record, but it kept the classical soul at the heart, obviously with the instrumentation, all the rest of it. And the words were beautiful, very direct, very simple, but you know, cut to the heart of the message. And so we went a little bit of back and forth, and I managed to get a little middle eight section in there, which I wanted, just so it could breathe a little bit, but essentially kept it like that, because I think a lot of this, in these kind of collaborations, is about trust and letting go and not doing the things that you would normally do. Because I normally work completely by myself in everything, and I've learned over the years to rely solely on myself. I have partners who I trust and who I've worked with over a number of years and who are utterly brilliant. But in terms of that creative collaborative process, I don't do that a lot. We then sent it to Leona, and Leona also had some thoughts on lyrics, so she contributed some beautiful lines as well. And then we arrived at a point where we felt, you know what, this is it, this is the song. And so the next part of that story was the recording process, but that's how we arrived at the lyrics.
Nice. Cool. I mean, it's interesting that there's so many people from like different worlds all coming together to create this, because it's so expansive as well. Like there's such a big sound. But yeah, please tell me, how was the recording process?
So the recording process, for one look, well, it was extremely involved, probably the most involved recording process of any piece that I've written, because it started off at Real World Studios, recording on these beautiful pianos. I then recorded, Ollie Jacobs and I then recorded with an amazing symphony orchestra in Vienna. They were there, a synchron stage in Vienna, and we were in Bath. But I wanted to record so that I had control of the technical process. And so we were working for a long time with Audio Movers and just getting to a stage where I felt comfortable going into that session. So there was a lot of prep going into the session. For the Viennese session, me at Real World, working with Oni, working with the engineers over there, working with Audio Movers, and just and we got to a stage where we were entirely comfortable. The session went ahead. The orchestra were incredible. The conductor, the musicians, and so we and incidentally we recorded. They only recorded 442 in Vienna strings, and of course. My piano was recorded at 440, was the pitch. So we had to record with vari speed, which meant that they recorded at 442 in Vienna, and then we applied vari speed. This is very techy now. And then when you get it back, when you take vari speed off, everything is at 440. And so there was a lot of checking, because in my mind I'm thinking, there's the potential here for things not to sound in tune. You've got something at 440, something at 442. What if something goes wrong? You've gone to all this expense and trouble, and you can't use it. So there's a lot of checking to make sure. Well, let's just make sure that's going to be the case. So a lot of technical work went into that. Checking with my engineer at Abbey Road as well, Andrew Dudman. Session went ahead. I was absolutely delighted. Then another stage after the orchestral stage was obviously editing and then going into programming, which I did with Jonas Persson in. I did that in the heart of London. The recording of the voice then happened after all of that, but we had to change key. Had to change key. Quite considerably actually, because it was recorded in G minor. It had to go down to E. But then how do we go down to E? Because the piano doesn't respond well to detuning. So we used 3 different processes to modulate the piano down to this particular key. And we used different processes at different parts of the track. Because otherwise you receive all sorts of unwanted stuff within the track. And then we did the same for the orchestra. And that took a long, long time with my engineer Andrew Dubman at Abbey Road, until we were totally happy that that will work. That then went to Leona. Leona recorded at Abbey Road and another studio as well, and we got back her recording, and it was an astonishing session, and that was the end of that. But it was an extremely long process, and there were some times when I thought, my gosh, am I ever going to get to the end of this? But I'm so pleased that we all persevered.